What's up, Dragon Ballers? How you doing today? I'm here with my teammate Johnny. How you doing, Johnny?
Pretty good, thanks, Josh. I'm pretty good. How are you?
I am great. It is the weekend, and yeah, we're here to do a little profile for you. We're going to be doing a profile for King Vegeta. So, let's get into it, Johnny. So why did you build the deck? Because King Vegeta's dead, isn't it?
Well, that was the thought, but I noticed that Big O and Irritorum have looked at like Dark Broly, and Dark Broly was kind of dead after the errata. And I really enjoyed playing King Vegeta, not in a grab your pitchforks, like not in that like aggressive way. I really enjoyed it as like a red-green build that was quite like control and burn, especially with the 5-drop. And I looked at the deck and I thought, when we go through the cards, you'll see that there's a package that I felt you had to run, and then outside of that, there was other stuff that you could put in to kind of transition from the traditional like early game into the mid game into the late game, and then there's things that you can do to keep your opponent off board, and it essentially becomes like a really intricate control deck.
All right, so let's get into the profile. So the first card, like you say, it's got an errata, so this will be an obvious one. Young Invaders field card.
You have to start with Young Invaders. It has a really minor benefit of making your 50 card deck 49 cards. It lets you search out the starts of your chains. It's also really important that because it's errata means everything costs 1, you have to leave at least 1 energy open if you want to get the crit of your opponent's life.
Yeah.
A lot of the first few turns are using the Young Invaders to crit life, and then cycling through them with switching gears and with the 3-drops to the next level. And the next 2 cards are the Young Invaders that I run, so I run 3 of each. So you've got Vegeta and the Raditz. The reason that you have to run Vegeta and Raditz, if you're not familiar with the deck, Vegeta has unique. Vegeta on play will crit a life and your opponent draws a card, but then when you attack into something, he plays himself on your opponent's side of the field. If you attack into something, that card loses 5,000 power on the first swing. It's quite good to kind of push through some damage in the early stages. The leader awakens when you or your opponent's at 4 or less life. What a lot of people will like to do is combo off the Young Invader to try and slow you down a bit, but this build isn't particularly bothered if they do that. As I said, you're the control in a lot of the matchups. The Vegeta and the Raditz are played as opposed to the Vegeta and the Goku, because the next 2 cards, which I run again, I think I run them at 3 and 4, switching gears and to the next level. Switching gears, both of these are played by bottom decking either Vegeta or Raditz. Switching gears is free. Vegeta to the next level costs 1. Switching gears, when he's played, you choose a card from your hand, bottom deck him, draw 2, which means that you've set up the Young Invaders for the next turn. You've also cycled through a bit more of your deck, so you see more of your pieces that you need, and he's a 10k beat stick. Yeah. Vegeta to the next level has unique and critical. He's 19k, so your opponent has to invest resources to not let the crit go through. When he's played, you can peep top 5, add a red Saiyan with a cost of 5 or less, or a Unison with a cost of 1, which I don't run, but it's an option that you can use to your hand.
So it kind of helps you filter.
Yeah, yeah. All of it, the first 5 cards here are designed to set your opponent up to be at 4 or less life, especially with leaders that awaken before, like when they have a Unison out, or if you've got like a certain amount of energy. And then you can push through, because you're swinging in with the switching gears first and with the Young Invaders on board, potentially. It's 10 plays 5 or 19 crit plays 5, and it's harder for your opponent to mitigate that. But you need targets, because if you don't, you essentially mulligan for switching gears and to the next level, because if you don't see those, you're less likely to see the next card, which is SSB Vegeta at full power. This is a really nice card. It evolves for 3, so it costs 3 energy, but you draw a card. 25k, double strike, deflect. When he's in rest mode, every time your opponent plays a battle card and attacks with a battle card, it loses 10k. So if they play anything with 20,000 power, they can't attack with it, or it just dies.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And it's not once per turn.
Wow. And it's got deflect as well, so
Yes.
in this meta,
So he's guaranteed to hit against blue.
Good.
Absolutely fantastic. This is really good against floodgates because a lot of the floodgates are 10k or less. When Vegeta is removed by a skill, this is my favorite bit. Your opponent crits a life.
Oh wow.
So he's really good at putting pressure on when they're around 5 life. If you tap out to play this, it's fine because they're either going to take 2 damage from the double strike, they're going to lose cards from hand, or they're going to try and remove him with a skill, which means that he's going to be they're going to be critting life anyway. So you can awaken, untap the energy. You've got energy to play with.
So essentially, what this deck is trying to do is trying to put pressure on and force life crits, essentially.
Yeah. So you've got to the next level crits. You've got the crits from the Young Invaders. Vegeta up full power crits when he's played. There's a sideboard that I can talk about in a little bit that has the King Piccolo Giant Force Unison, the 19k quad crit dual attacker. And if the game's going long, you side those in, and then you play them on like turn 5, and then on turn 6 you burn them for 2, and on top of all the other burn, it's a lot of damage to take through. I think the next cards are the other package. So you've got the 17 card Young Invaders package, and then this is the Unisons. 2 baby, 1 of the, I'm going to call them the GT trio.
Yep,
and then the next card, I believe, is 2 of the Vegito Unison, and then my secret rare, which is the SSB Vegeta, 1 copy of the King Piccolo and New Ruler, and I can't remember what the other card is, but it's limited to 1, so I imagine, it's the Unisons. So you've got Baby is just the best red Unison in the game at the minute.
Absolutely.
Since
so
the Armada to King
much
Piccolo.
value.
Yeah, you're wiping your opponent's board. If you can't beat over it with the rest of the deck, you can absorb it with Baby. I would run Baby at 3, and maybe cut the Vegetos to sideboard, and maybe run another copy of the GT trio. But I don't have another Baby, so the Vegeto is there as another control tool. A lot of decks want to play cards with skills, and Vegeto just says no, which I love.
100%. That this Unison is very annoying for anyone to play around.
It's also another way to burn as well, because if you can get it down for 5, you can -5 if they've got no board, which they might not do, given that you've got potentially a Vegeta in play. -5, it's another life burn. The SSB Vegeta is probably the best generic red SCR in the game.
No, it definitely is by far, and if not, it could be the best. It could be the best SCR that is available to any deck, I believe. I know it's red mono, but like I don't think there's any SCRs that turn the game around. Maybe Baby Hatch, but other than that, those 2 are definitely the best 2. 100%.
It's in the sort of upper tiers of SCR. Like it's got deflect first of all. It's got triple strike. It's got the auto where you can burn. Comes down on turn 4. It's a board wipe. So if you've got something set up, and then you play the Vegeta, you swing. They don't they combo out and they've got a board. You can be like, right, well, I'll get rid of your board. You're not going to be able to play anything really.
I mean, on player as well. Don't forget the minuses the leader 5 as well, which is unreal.
It's really, really cool. Really, really cool. Again, the GT trio it's a nice little card. It's a turn 4 play that I think the deck was kind of lacking. I
mean, if anything, it's quite a nice defensive unit for the Baby, because you play the Baby, you suck up a battle card, go to 4. That's basically essentially 5 markers, and then you can activate main and go up to 7 markers immediately, which is that's arguably broken. So
the board clear is really nice. Triple attack's really good against Unisons.
Of course, yeah.
I've never been in a situation where I've been able to play it from under a Unison, but as you said, playing a Baby for 3, upticking, sucking a card up to 4, and then sliding this under for 5, the Baby's not going to go anywhere. Which means that when we get onto some of the other cards in the deck, it's nice to have kind of, if you're tapping out, which you might be, it's nice to have that like 5 marker unison that's definitely going to stick around. You've got the Vegeta, you've got the leader.
You've got 5 markers and you've got 2 things underneath that you can use to sacrifice to keep it alive. It's not getting removed at that moment, and you have done nothing to really warrant it being immovable, which is really broken.
And the permanent as well, giving your leader 1k.
Yeah, that's so useful.
Sounds like it's not a lot, but it's just like the icing on the cake, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's incredibly powerful, and it works very well with Red's negate package, which I'm sure we're going to get into soon.
Yeah. Obviously, King Piccolo, the new ruler, as a one-off, it's kind of part of the Red.
It is. It's a staple of Red. If you don't run it, fall to you, basically. It's a free play, 20k pressure. You know, and it can't be blocked. Incredible card.
Yeah, and then obviously the King Piccolo Unison is just there because it's a really good card. Turn 2, if you've seen nothing else, windmill slam it, draw a card, 3 marker Unison.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And if you're on your kill turn and it's out, and they try and put out blocker negates, it's no bueno, basically. So
exactly.
Very, very helpful card.
I think the next cards are the super combos. Yeah, 4 Raditz, Dex mono red. There's no better super combo to run in a mono red deck, I don't think. No, maybe the
you're on your leader. You awaken at 4 as well, don't you?
Yeah. So when you or your opponent's at 4 life, you can awaken. You draw 1, untap 1, and go down to 5. Mm-hmm. So if you've managed to hold off what they're playing, they're playing a slower deck. You've got 5 life. They're down to 4. You can then use something to take a life. The field card can take a life, which means that your super combos are almost always live. I've never had a game where the super combos weren't live. And with the fact that it's a red Saiyan, which you can search forward to the next level. You can search for it with the leader swing. You're going to keep them if you see them with switching gears.
And if you don't know what Raditz Saiyan Youth does, basically if you're on 4 life, you can bottom deck 1, draw 2.
Yep.
Very, very powerful.
Yeah, and I think the next set of cards are the negates. So I'm running 2 Rays, 3 Topo, and I want to say, there's we can keep going. There's Broly Crown at 2. There's 2 Vegeta Resolve Renewed.
Yep.
Again, these are kind of staple red cards. 4 Videl, you have to run 4 Videl because you're tapping out to play a Unison most of the time. You get -20 off of Videl Spirit Boost 1, and then your leader will proc as well, so you can get another -10.
And that's the 2 cards off Videl as well, which is incredibly powerful.
And if you've got a Vegeta at full power down, they're losing 30k off 2 targets, basically, which they're never going to get through.
100%.
King Vegeta's imposing presence at 3.
This card, if you tap out with the Juvenile Parasite and play this card, it essentially works out as basically having a super combo on every swing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
And so few people will commit the resources. You'll play this for free, discard a card, and then it's too big of a wall to get over. Because if they're attacking into something and you've got this out and the baby's in rest mode, all your energy's in rest mode because you've played baby, and the turn before you've played SSB Vegeta at full power, they're minusing 15k off everything and you're 1k up. So it's 20k essentially per swing. It's monstrous.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good.
The last 2 is 3 strategies and 2 testing the opposition. Testing I originally ran at 3. And I've decided to add strategies in very recently because I found that even though Vegeta had deflect, lots of decks are just, like, especially blue, are really good at just spinning stuff. And you want the Vegeta to stick. So you play the Vegeta, strategies of Universe 7, it's going to stick around. It puts you in a bit more of a controlling spot, especially against Gamma. SSB Vegeta, they play the Cell, it loses 10k, it then loses 10k from the leader, and then they swing and it dies.
Yeah. Really, 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 really good. Obviously, Vegeta Resolve Renewed. If you don't know, guys, any card that's being played with 15k power or less goes straight to the drop instead of being played. So essentially, the best use of that is on floodgates like Mecha Frieza, or for the Gamma, the Android 14. It's a fantastic option. Really, really, really potent. counterplay in this meta, especially.
For kill turns, like turn 4, turn 5, if you've got a board developed and they go for like a Oceanus, or as you said, a Riposte, or the Android 14, you play this, it goes straight to drop, they don't get the Floodgate, and then you've got another body to swing with, or another body to combo with. Broly Crown is just such a hilarious card.
I play the card myself in red decks, but I feel like it's so broken it should not be. It should be banned. It's too good.
It's so much more than
the info. Red having the information is just so broken because red is. It's the keep swinging at the opponent color, in my opinion.
So if your opponent's on 3 energy, all untapped, and you play Crown, and they reveal hand and they've got Hatch, you're like, well, I'm going to bait that. I have to swing as much as I can now just to bait the baby Hatch. Yeah, exactly. It lets you know how many super combos they've got. You can do hand maths.
You can take a super combo away as well.
Yeah. There's so many benefits to this card, and nobody people play around it, but nobody's going in every red game going, oh, I have to play around baby like Broly Crown.
Yeah. It's always something you forget, and you're like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the counterplay to pay your energy off, then you're showing hand, and
exactly.
The game immediately turns in the favor of the Crown player.
Yeah.
If they can use the information to their advantage, of course.
So,
a few questions about the build for you, Johnny. What are good and bad matchups with this deck in the current meta?
Okay. Good matchups I'll start with. Gamma. Deck's really, really good against Gamma. If you can stabilize the full power early, like I said, Cell's dead. Android 17 and 18, the multi that plays from energy is also dead. Comes down immediately, loses 20k. Any deck that really tries to go wide rather than tall, the deck seems to do quite well against, because most wide decks are aggro decks. They're not going to be popping at full power if they're going for game, and then they're going to start losing battle cards, start losing value. Bad matchups, basically anything that plays barrier. Trunks Vegeta would absolutely butcher this deck. There's not really much of a comeback mechanic aside from the SCR and the 8-drop trio.
Yeah, I mean, what options would you potentially... I mean, you could potentially, for barrier matchups, maybe side in some Kaioken, SSB, Gokus. That would be the easiest option, probably.
That's the thing I tend to find that Red struggles with, because, I mean, tapping 2... Is it tap 2 neg 25? Or is it tap 2 KO 20k or less?
Yeah, it's tap 3 for 20k or less, clear the board, not ignoring barrier, and then minus 25 ignoring barrier for 2.
Yeah, because there's not an awful lot that Red has that ignores barrier and can just continuously go through it.
Yeah.
I would probably side Kaioken in, but as I say, it's the main problems are Trunks Vegeta. It doesn't really struggle with things like Xeno Sin. It doesn't really struggle because the deck doesn't. It draws a lot, but it's more cycle. You'll have like you'll have maybe a 10 card hand, but of those 10 cards, 8 will be cards that you want, and 2 will be cards that you've drawn from the turn.
Yeah.
Really it also struggles really badly against, as I said, decks that go tall. So aggro Sin is a really difficult matchup because they go too fast. Hilariously, I have a really difficult time with reboot Master Saiyan. It doesn't really like crit hits. It wants to be critting your opponent, not being crit itself.
Yeah.
Because they're taking the Leader Awaken goes from being a draw 3 in inverted commas to a draw 1, which is quite a big swing.
So what decks would you say it really prospers against then, other than Gamma?
U7's quite a fun one, because they want to awaken really early. You don't give them the opportunity to like use their life as a resource, because you just play you play the control game, play a young invader every turn. If they want to combo it off, they have to tap an energy, which means that they don't get to do their aggro plays. And then you get to the point where you go young invader on their turn, free play Vegeta switching gears, play Vegeta at full power, switch it to rest mode, right, try and swing.
Yeah.
Decks that go wide really struggle against this. Decks that go tall generally do quite well, and decks that use like leader and unison heavy decks are also so. Dripku really struggles against Dripku because nothing hits unisons really.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the Violent Rays in there, which is really good, and Topo would also help against that because yellow, that Dripku deck doesn't have massive resources. It's decent, but it can be bad if you whiff, pretty much. So.
Yeah, I've not had much of an opportunity to test against Dripku, so I'll have to speak to our local Dripku players and see if they'll give me a swing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so. We've got a few more questions before we finish off. What changes would you make? You already divulged into a little bit, but what else would you change? You said you'd take Vegeta into the side and add more babies.
Yes. So I originally ran 4 copies of Piccolo 5 seconds to eradication. It's a draft box 3 4-drop 20k red, double strike, barrier deflect. When he attacks, you add a marker to a unison. And when his attack is negated, you can take a life to burn a life.
Very good.
And you also can activate blocker when he swings. The original plan for the deck was I didn't run Baby, I didn't run the GT trio. I used Piccolo to continually buff or uptick Vegito.
Yeah.
And then downtick him so they could never play cards with skills. But it's a turn 4 into a turn 5 into a turn 6, and the deck just doesn't quite have the gas to make the games last that long. So I'd probably cut Vegito. It's a bit dead in some matchups.
Okay.
I'd cut Vegito, probably run another copy of the trio, another copy of Baby. There's an argument to take out in certain matchups to take out like testing the opposition and replace it with something else, but that's sideboard material. This is like the 4th iteration of the deck, I think. And I played in the Scrub Games locals this week, and it felt a lot better than it did previously. It felt like it was me that was making the mistakes rather than the deck just being bad, which is quite a good sign.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so do you think this deck will be viable with the incoming Zenkai rules and set?
Yes. The main reason I say that is because the young invaders are once you've awakened or your opponent's awakened, they're kind of like combo fodder because they're a free 5k for the King Vegeta player.
Yeah.
But you can use them to get Z energy. You do combo, like you'll combo off a Broly Crown, you'll combo off a Vegeta in the early game. You're drawing lots of cards. It doesn't matter if you want to go a bit more aggressive because the deck has that in its back pocket, which means that you can get some Z energy. And we've not seen all the red Zenkai cards, but there are some quite strong ones.
Say if your opponent, because the card goes back to your drop area. Say if your opponent combos out a young invader by paying 1, when it hits your drop area, can you choose to charge it as Z energy instead?
I think this is a ruling question that we're waiting to be clarified on. Yeah. I've not heard anything either way, and
that would be.
We all know that you know Mr. Fashbinder very, very well, so we'll have to wait until he gets back to us.
Yeah, 100%. That would be really interesting though if your opponent pays 1.
Then I get to have a Z energy. That would be amazing.
That would be very good. Hopefully that sticks.
that honestly, if that's the case, and I get to use that. Oh, it's not the Gogeta, is it? It's the SS4 Goku Zenkai card. That would be.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be great. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. We might have a gameplay video for you here soon. We might do maybe you can show me how it works in a game. And
I'll do my best. Is this the part where you say editing magic and then we go? Ooh.
Yeah, I mean we can do something like that. Like